Hello, we're back here with Grandma Tanner at Tanner's Orchard, and today she is going to make a squash, sausage, apple, quick and easy skillet meal. Say that 2 times fast and I might give you a squash. But anyways, here's Grandma, and she's ready to show us some tricks to cutting up the squash that is a little rough to cut. But this meal, she made it for us, and she made it for all our grandkids, and we all liked it. But she started us early on the squash, so she introduced us to the flavors when we were young. So you might have to work with kids a little bit, but it is a very tasty dish. So we'll leave it up to Grandma now.
Okay, squash is so healthy for you, and we are growing at this time these 5 different flavors, or these varieties. And today I have chosen the butternut to put it in a skillet and with sausage on it. A lot of people don't like the squash because they are so hard to cut. They are hard, especially this spaghetti. So what you do, you just prick this butternut up and down, all around, with a nice little sharp knife.
Just don't cut your fingers.
Yeah, don't cut your fingers. Because if you do not, this thing could explode in the microwave. So I made one earlier and I had it in for 5 minutes. This one's a little thinner, so I'm going to put it in there for 4 minutes. And it is so much easier to peel and prepare. So while we're got that one in the microwave, I'll tell you a little bit about the Sweet Mama. These have a stronger squash flavor. They're a little drier, but they do have a good flavor.
They're a good sweet squash.
Good sweet squash. The spaghetti here is wonderful for Weight Watchers. They use this instead of pasta, so you just put your spaghetti sauce, any kind. You can have meat in it or whatever. But I'm going to talk about that in a couple weeks. We're going to make spaghetti squash with real sauce. The acorn are really good. You can cut them this way. Take the seeds out, lay them like that. Put them in the oven with a ball of sausage in there. And that's all you need. You have a complete meal.
How long would you leave them in there, and at what temperature?
About 350, and I like to cover mine with foil because it keeps it from getting dry. And that ball of sausage right in the middle, you put raw sausage in there. The flavor just goes down into the squash. You really don't need any seasoning or anything, but we are selling this Ya Greek seasoning. We've had it for about 5 years, I would say. It's got everything you need in it. It's great for vegetables, meat, squash, noodles, anything you want. But it's a real good seasoning.
And Grandma Tanner does, I will attest to it, she does put it on everything.
Yes.
And so do a lot of our employees.
Yeah, they really like it. This is a carnival squash. I said they're so pretty you can use it for a centerpiece and then you can eat it. But they are a cross between a sweet dumpling and a green table queen squash. A green table queen is a type of acorn. So it's kind of shaped like the acorn, but it's flat. But I just think it's really pretty for a centerpiece. Put a few little leaves around there and you got a fall centerpiece.
Would you cook that one like the acorn squash too?
Yes, I would cook this like the acorn. And they're kind of, yellow, orange on the inside also, but they're just very attractive. So our squash is going to be done here in a minute in the microwave, and I'm going to get the sausage out of the fridge here. Today I have Bob Evans, but I like to have a premium or a more lean sausage with this recipe because you have less grease then.
So do you use a mild, a sage, a hot? country.
This one is just the original, but you can use a sage, or you can use, if you like hot sausage, you can do that. It's whatever you would like to do. So our squash is almost finished in there. Half a more minute. But I was reading one time, squash has such good fiber in it that it helps prevent colon cancer. I read that quite a few years ago, and we put a sign up one year, and we demonstrated squash and gave samples. It's like, we've always had squash on the farm, and I introduced my children when they were very young to squash. So if you can introduce them when they're young, they will like it. But if they get to be teenagers and they've never had squash, I don't know, sometimes it's a little hard to convince them. Okay, so my squash is done in the microwave after 4 minutes. And it will be a little warm, so I'm going to grab it with a towel. And I have a cutting board here. So I'm going to cut this end off. See, it's a lot easier. You do still need a sharp knife. So then you just cut this in slices. Maybe 1-inch slices, like that.
It's still a little tough to cut, but not like it was.
No, not like it was. I mean, I cooked one earlier, and I have it over there on the table, all finished, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. But I left it in for 5 minutes, and it was a little easier. So maybe, depending on the size of your squash, you can leave it in for 5 minutes. So we get the seeds out of here. What's nice about the butternut is it's all meat except the one end, and that's where the seeds are. So it's solid squash. So for $2.99 each, what we sell them out here at Tanner's, you really get your money's worth. I mean, you can make a whole meal plus your sausage, which is about $3–4 depending on where you get it. So you can have a nice meal and a couple apples and a half onion in there. And the onion is, you don't have to put that in there. It's just if you want to add a little bit of flavor. But see how much easier this is to peel. And now I put about a half a cup of water in the bottom, and I just chunk that up like that. So there's only about 2.5 pieces here that have a few seeds in them. Yeah, this is much easier when you do it with, put it in the microwave first. Now you just kind of gouge these seeds out of here. Our son loves to grow squash.
And him and his family love this. They make it quite a bit in the fall of the year.
He said they have 4 children, and he said I use 3 pounds of sausage and about 3 squash to put in there.
You gonna leave that peel in there too? Does that add flavor?
Oh, yeah, that peel. No, we don't want that peel in there. Sorry. Sure glad you caught that, Jenny.
We got somebody from Freeport and somebody from Mapleton watching. We have about 45 people watching right now.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, you buy this squash. We should have squash clear into November. And these are called winter squash. So if you get some, keep them in a dry, cool place. And a lot of times they're good until February. But usually I take a bunch of them in November and we eat on them. Another thing you can do with this squash, you can go ahead and just cook it and kind of like pumpkin, and put it in a freezer Ziploc bag, and then all you have to do is and freeze it, and then all you have to do is just get it out and cook it. It doesn't take very long, and you have a nice squash. You can do all kinds of recipes with that cooked squash. Some people even make pie squash. Then later on we're going to have Hubbard squash and like those green gooseneck. I think he's got some of them out there. But they're large, and they will come a little bit later.
And Marilyn likes to take the gooseneck that have a bad spot in them that we can't sell down here. She takes those and her and Richard eat on those.
Yeah, you can just leave it on your kitchen counter and slice a little bit off.
So
now I do not peel these apples. The peel is so healthy for you that you should not, except in a pie. I guess I usually peel them when I put them in a pie. But something like this, they get cooked up real good, and you just... So I got one Gala here, and then I have a Golden Supreme. And the Golden Supreme, I think they're just about done out there in the orchard. They're an early variety of Golden Delicious. This one has a little tartness to it. So I thought, well, a sweet Gala, and then this little tartar apple. One thing with apples, whatever you put it in, it changes the flavor, but it adds bulk, and it adds a lot of vitamins. Your apples, whoops, one just jumped on the floor. So now I just add a little bit of onion here.
What was that, about a quarter of an onion, half an onion?
It's about a half an onion. You can do, if you don't like onion, or another thing you can do is just put this yaya in there. Or you can put onion,
salt or onion?
Onion, yeah, powder or salt or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to pop this sausage out of here. And then you just make little chunks all over on the top of that. And the flavor of this sausage goes down into the squash. Adds a little bit. Now, when you get this to the table, and if you think it needs a little bit more seasoning, you can always add that at the table. But I kind of try to cut back on salt and a lot, but the yaya has salt in it. That yaya is really good. Now, like I told you with the pie, you put a little butter in there. I don't know what that cow has in her, but you put this butter in there, and this just a couple little chunks, and this will not boil over.
And
it's amazing.
Stuff's always better with a little butter.
That is right. So you put the lid on, and I put it on high for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, till it gets going. And then I turned it way down to medium or lower. So
you cook it till the sausage is cooked and the squash is soft.
Cooked and the squash is soft. And the pan that I just did about an hour ago, it was about 25 to 30 minutes cooking. And after it boiled, I turned it way down. So it's right behind you, Jenny. I did it in this kind of this is what it looks like.
Oh boy, it smells so good.
Yeah.
So that's a quick and easy skillet meal that you can make for your family. You can actually cut up squash and freeze it, or cut squash the night before, so when you come home from work you don't have to do it. But it's a quick, easy meal. It has your vegetables, your protein. It's really good. My favorite is the butternut squash. I know my dad, Grandpa Tanner, They like the acorn squash with the sausage inside. And the Sweet Mama is another one of my favorites.
Yeah,
it's
the Sweet Mama.
Yeah, it's got a lot more, it's a little drier than the other squashes. So the texture is a little bit, I like the texture of that one a lot better. And it's a little bit nuttier in taste. So does anybody have any questions? I think that was quick and easy. And that's all we got for today. So thank you very much.